What's good? What's good? What's good? It's your boy, the Ultimate Rage, coming back with yet another live here in the No Cap Zone, where we have a strict dress code. Knock it the hell off with that capping ass bullshit. The only kind of cap that we allow around these parts is your thinking cap, otherwise you gotta move around. Because around these parts, we only care about the facts, the data, the truth, the information, the evidence, things that can actually be demonstrated in real life. Like in real time. Like while we're actually alive, while we're of sound mind. Because otherwise, I have no idea what the hell these goofies are talking about. And to tell you the truth, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So, let's talk about it. So as usual, hit that like, hit that subscribe, notification bell, hit the website off9.com, come through to the Discord, all that good stuff. Now, so I did a live on Saturday addressing anti-abortionists, and I'll admit I was really mean. I'm usually very mean because I'm a very mean guy, because I am an atheist and an anti-theist, and I do not believe that theists know what the hell they're talking about. And so, I feel that on many of the topics that they're passionate about, even if I might have some kind of agreement with them, I feel that the way that they go about doing things is incorrect. I do not think that they take these issues as seriously as they should. I don't think that... See, because here's the big point, all right? The reason why I am an anti-theist is because I do not believe that theism is accurate. In fact, I think it is abundantly clear that theism is inaccurate. It is false. It fails to comport with reality. It has no true explanatory power. It fails to actually demonstrate any of the claims that have been made about it. That's why I do what I do, to provide them with an opportunity to demonstrate to me that what they say actually makes sense, comports with reality, and actually truly helps improve our collective well-being, our social fabric, our ability as a society to work together interdependently with synergy to create a cohesive society for one another that optimizes for our collective well-being. So you have to forgive me if at times I'm going to be a bit condescending, if I'm going to be a bit rude. Because, yeah, I can be a very rude person, but I feel that this argument about tact is extraordinarily disingenuous, considering the history of Christianity and its impact on human society all over the world, throughout the ages, through the eons. I mean, we're talking about all sorts of just human atrocities all over the world. I'm talking about straight up, imperialism, murder, rape, fucking slavery. We could just keep going. And let's not forget the storied history of rape and child rape that's ongoing today. The greatest rape culture in the history of humanity. It exists within the church. And not only does it exist, but these are the primary perpetrators of this antisocial behavior. Which is why I talk about it. That's why I'm so confused as to why anti-abortionists focus so heavily on this abortion topic, but aren't serious about going about it. See, because here's my thing. It is my opinion that anti-abortionists are way too reactionary. They don't listen. They don't listen to what I have to say. I had a video I posted like a few days ago, a couple days ago. I got all these comments that literally refused to acknowledge any of the things I said in the actual video. They all argued the same straw man argument, basically saying, hey, we should be fighting abortion. It's killing children, it's murder. The same dumb shit they always say. I have never once uttered a pro-abortion position. I have never ever stated that I was rah-rah, gung-ho for abortion. Ever. I've never made a pro-abortion argument because guess what? I'm not actually pro-abortion. I know, crazy, right? That just because I criticize you does not mean that I am the other thing. See, this is the problem that we have in the modern age. We have these issues of communication. We have issues of people making assumptions instead of seeing what's actually there. Engaging with the things that are actually being said. All these comments are in, all these comments on my video are all like arguing so heavily about protecting the children. Or making the argument that, oh, well, just because we fail so hard to protect the children who actually exist doesn't mean that we should fail the children who could potentially exist. Right? But they still miss the forest for the trees every single time we have this conversation. So I'm going to do my very, very best to not be extremely rude to y'all and just explain to you plainly, without insults, why I think what you say is incorrect, preposterous, and frankly straight up immoral. Now, let me be clear. I am neither pro-abortion nor anti-abortion. I am pro-choice. But I am pro-choice as a matter of practicality. Okay? And here's what I mean. See, unlike anti-abortionists, I actually care about the topic. I've done this thing called research. I know, crazy, right? Y'all hate hearing that type of word. But the fact of the matter is, if you care about a topic, if you highlight an issue that you think is really a big issue, the first thing you should do is, like, I don't know, research the issue. You know, instead of being reactionary, instead of getting all in your feelings and your emotions and being like, abortion is wrong, abortion is just so wrong, therefore it's wrong. Actually try to understand the topic of abortion. In other words, understanding things like why specifically women, let's be clear, because this is a mostly women-centric topic, why women get abortions. Understanding things like the demographics of the women who get the abortions. These are the issues that y'all don't seem to be the least bit concerned with. Which is why I don't understand what you anti-abortionists are talking about. What are y'all talking about? What are y'all pushing for? What is it that you actually want? Because if you claim that you really, really want to end abortions, you're going about it in the craziest way. See, one of the reasons why I brought up what was called the FACE Act, okay, and for those of you who are unaware, you know, I'm going to show you. See, this is what I do. I show y'all the type of stuff that I talk about. All right? So I'm going to show y'all this FACE Act and why it's important, because it has to do exactly with this topic. So we're going to pull up the wiki real quick. The FACE Act, the Freedom of Access to Clinic Interests Act, all right, is a law that was signed by President Bill Clinton in May 1994. which prohibits the following three things: the use of physical force, threat of physical force, and physical obstruction to intentionally injure, intimidate, interfere with, or attempt to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person who is obtaining an abortion. Okay? This is the crux of why this bill was created, for this specific reason. But as usual, disingenuous Christians always have to fight for their way, because the Lord doesn't provide it for them. So instead, they always have to lobby government to do their bidding for them, which is so crazy, because if the Lord was so real and so true, why would they need to do that? But going back to it, the second and third parts are these: the use of physical force, threat of physical force, or physical obstruction to intentionally injure, intimidate, interfere with, or attempt to injure, intimidate, or interfere with any person who is exercising or trying to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship, and the intentional damage or destruction of a reproductive health care facility or a place of worship. Now, this was a law that was created. A law that was created to help people who want to get an abortion safely. And to actually, compromise with the religious zealots that this law was intended to prevent, to stop them from inhibiting people from going to get an abortion. They also, caved to them and capitulated to them by adding this extra section right here where it says, the whole, people exercising, trying to exercise the First Amendment right of religious freedom at a place of religious worship, or the intentional damage or destruction of a reproductive health care facility or a place of worship. Now, I bring this up for two reasons. One, the First Amendment does not grant the right of religious freedom. I say this all the time. See, because I have this thing called the Constitution. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but yeah, it's like the government's fucking handbook of like what the fuck we supposedly stand for or something like that. And it literally says right here, I don't know if you have heard of it, but there's this thing called the First Amendment that they actually reference right here. And the irony is that it states in plain English, and look, see, unlike these other loonies out here, I like to show you the things that I'm talking about. I like to show you these things so that we can be on literally the same fucking page. Like, actually, literally, you and me on the same page. There's this thing called the First Amendment, amendments to the Constitution. It literally says right here, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Now, it says that. Now, first of all, the first thing it says is Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. Okay, so when we talk about religious freedom, that's typically what we mean by religious freedom. Not the idea that religions get to do whatever the fuck they want because, oh, you believe this craziness. No, it is literally you have the right to believe whatever you want. Even though just because you believe it doesn't mean that we should allow you to just believe it just because you want to believe it. Because see, y'all are getting into the positions of government and affecting the laws, amending the laws, changing the laws, creating new laws based on your beliefs, and that's why we gotta have a conversation. But the other part is that this First Amendment literally contradicts itself right away. Because it says that Congress will make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That is a direct contradiction. Either you can or you can't. Either you can or you can't. You can't say that you can, but then also say that you can't. Because now you just fucking, those cancel out. So if anything, the First Amendment is actually literally vague about religious freedom. Okay? So the big irony of this FACE Act is that it literally violates both of these aspects of the First Amendment. Because if the First Amendment says that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. The FACE Act literally does both of those things at the same time by prohibiting religious people from attacking abortion patients and abortion clinics, but then also respecting the establishment of religion by literally saying you have to respect an establishment of religion. Like a literal establishment of religion, you're supposed to respect it. But the first thing the First Amendment says is Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, which means that the FACE Act is literally, actually, factually, by the letter of what it says in the First Amendment, is literally unconstitutional. Inherently. But so that's the first part. Just on a technical level, on a basic logical level, not playing any word games, just looking at what it says. That's why I showed it to you, in case you missed it. And you can look it up yourself, because it's the United States Constitution. You can just Google the Constitution, you can read it. It's the same exact shit. But there's a bigger reason why I brought it up, okay? Brought it up because of this right here. The background, the influence of this bill, of this law, rather, is that between the years 1978 and 1993, there was an increase in the number of crimes committed against abortion providers and abortion clinics. According to statistics gathered by the National Abortion Federation, an organization of abortion providers since 1977 in the United States and Canada, there have been at least 9 murders, 17 attempted murders, 406 death threats, 179 incidents of assault or battery, and 5 kidnappings committed against abortion providers. In addition, since 1977 in the United States and Canada, property crimes committed against abortion providers have included 41 bombings, 175 arsons, 96 attempted bombings or arsons, 692 bomb threats, 1,993 incidents of trespassing, 1,400 incidents of vandalism, and 100 attacks with butyric acid, aka stink bombs. In April 1992, thousands of prayer warriors and anti-abortion protesters met at the entrances of Buffalo abortion clinics for a planned month of picketing and blockades trying to dissuade women from ending their pregnancies. After 7 days of protests involving Operation Rescue, over 400 protesters were arrested. Okay, and then it goes on to say, one anti-abortion group known as the Army of God was especially active in committing these violent crimes. This group alone was responsible for bombing and setting fire to over 100 clinics before 1994. They also invaded more than 300 clinics and vandalized more than 400. In 1993, officials found the Army of God manual, a tactical guide to arson, chemical attacks, invasions, and bombing, buried in the backyard of Army of God activist Shelley Shannon's home. Shelley Shannon was soon found guilty of the attempted murder of Dr. George Tiller that same year. So this is the real reason I brought it up, and this is why I was, why I'm so very rude to anti-abortionists, because, okay, I understand that all anti-abortionists do not engage in these extreme of actions, but is the mere fact that this is where y'all went. This is where y'all went. These super duper Christy Christians who have these super duper moral values that you supposedly have. And this is the type of behavior that many of y'all engage in. And then, and so, okay, this was in the past. This was the 90s. What about now? What about right now? What about today? My big thing about today is that anti-abortionists, again, do not care about the facts. If you ask them anything about who's getting into abortion, I'm not talking about just saying women, young women. I'm talking about literally the demographics, the facts, the data, the statistics, the information. I promise you they have none. They have done no research. They don't do research. If they did research, we wouldn't be here. Because my whole thing is, I'm all about data, facts, information, statistics, things that cannot be debated, right? The only thing you can debate is, okay, maybe whether or not you question this group's methodology or what have you, but unless you have something better that you can present, you can shut the hell right on up. Straight like that. You can miss me with all of these super duper hyper cynical positions. I won't even say skeptical, because there's a difference between being skeptical and being cynical. right? Being skeptical means you're just not going to accept things at face value. You have a high standard. The problem is that y'all, specifically anti-abortionists, don't have standards. The only standard is, I don't like abortion. Y'all think that y'all are going to, like, legislate abortion away. That's not how it works. Even if you were to make abortion completely, totally illegal and make it a death penalty case, that's not going to stop abortions. It is an inefficient and, honestly, in my opinion, immoral way to try to curb abortions when you're not doing the hard work of trying to understand the people who get abortions and why they get the abortions. Okay? So check this out. And this is one of the big reasons why I have such a huge problem with anti-abortionists, because these are very easy to find facts, data, and statistics, right? I just did it right now while we were talking. I literally typed it in while I was sitting here talking so that I could show you this type of shit, all right? So check it out. So it says right here, in the United States, the typical abortion patient is a woman in her 20s, unmarried, already a mother, and living below or near the federal poverty line. While people from all backgrounds seek this care, the Guttmacher Institute and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention highlight several key demographic trends. The majority, nearly 2/3 of abortion patients are in their 20s, roughly 33% are 20 to 24, 28% are 25 to 29. Minors, adolescents under 18 account for only about 2% of abortions. Race and ethnicity, diversity. Abortion patients are diverse, with similar proportions being Black, 29%, Latin, X, 30%, or non-Hispanic white, 30%. Disparities. Because of systemic healthcare inequalities and financial barriers, Black and Latin women experience disproportionately higher rates of abortion per capita compared to white women. So there's one issue right there, okay? So right out the gate, it says right here that because of systemic healthcare inequalities and financial barriers, Black and Latinx women experience disproportionately higher rates of abortion per capita compared to white women. I've never heard an anti-abortionist mention any of this because they don't care about any of this. They're so reactionary and don't care about the facts that all they want to do is just hate abortion. They don't want to look at the underlying causes of abortion so that they can address those things so that perhaps maybe they can help reduce abortion if that was really what they wanted to do. That's why I am so rude and condescending to anti-abortionists. Because, see, unlike y'all, I actually care about the facts and data. And actually, I actually am not the biggest fan of abortion either. I know, crazy, right? I'm not the biggest fan of abortion because I celebrate life. I think that life is precious. But what y'all don't seem to care about is actually valuing life in real life and ensuring that our quality of life is actually high quality so that people are disincentivized to get abortions. Because when we look at things like this, specifically right here, in socioeconomic status, approximately 41% of abortion patients have incomes below the federal poverty level, and another 30% make between 100% and 199% of the federal poverty level. So they barely hanging on. Low middle class. Insurance and costs. Financial constraints are a primary factor, with many reporting they cannot afford a baby. This is, to me, the big crux of why I'm super rude and condescending to anti-abortionists. Because it always comes back to these underlying issues that right-wing conservatives do not want to hear at all. That they don't want to hear, they don't give a fuck about, and they act like they're so high and mighty, but they're full of shit. And that's why it's hard for me to contain myself in my anger and my condescension to these people. Because if I were to tell you, hey, if people weren't broke, if people weren't poor, you could cut half the abortions right now, y'all would be against that. Y'all would be against that because y'all love poverty. Y'all absolutely love poverty. That's why y'all do everything possible to ensure that people stay impoverished. That's why y'all do nothing, absolutely literally nothing, to even think about addressing the topic of poverty. Or if you do, you're going to blame the poor people for being poor instead of saying, hey, what can we do to help people not be poor so that they don't go to get abortions? If poverty is one of the, if not the primary factor, if poverty is literally the primary factor, why aren't a single of you anti-abortionists out in the street protesting against poverty right now? Right now. And this is the crazy thing. This is what us leftists have always been about. We have always been anti-poverty. But see, y'all are so out of your minds. You're so emotionally just blind to reality and facts. Y'all don't see that the thing that you claim you want is the same thing that we actually want. What the hell makes you think that we are so crazy that we're like, hey, everybody, you get an abortion, you get an abortion. Look, there's people out there that do think like that. And look, we can argue and debate whether or not we feel that that's optimal or not. Right? And we could disagree. But the fact of the matter is that for y'all to claim that y'all care so much about anti-abortion, that y'all are so against that you're so against abortion, y'all don't look at the things that cause abortion. Y'all don't seem to be remotely concerned with the factors that lead women to get abortions. Y'all talk about every single thing but that. I have not seen on any conservative fucking platform at all any mention of any of these things. But y'all care so much about abortion though. That is a lie. That is a lie. Y'all do not care about abortion at all. Y'all do not care about these babies. And then here's another point that I am so happy to bring up right now. Because see, here's the even bigger point. Here's the even bigger point. Actually, two bigger points. One, they claim that they care so much about the children, the unborn children. Why don't they have this fervor? Why don't they have this same fervor for miscarriages and stillbirths and SIDS? You know, the conditions where the babies just die or they don't fully develop for whatever reason. Why don't y'all have the same energy for those developmental tragedies? Why aren't y'all protesting in the streets against stillbirths? Why aren't y'all fighting for more research into what causes stillbirth so we can save those children's lives too? No, y'all don't care about, y'all don't think about that, y'all don't even mention that. Those are things that don't even come up in your purview at all. Those are things that you don't even think about. Y'all cannot be the least concerned with. So that's why I call into question the authenticity of your purview, of your worldview. For y'all who claim to care so much about ending abortion, y'all sure do have an extremely strange way of going about it. By supporting the policies, the politicians, the political parties that will ensure that poverty is going to continue to exist and persist in society, and guaranteeing that young people are going to fucking want to get abortions. Poverty is a big reason. Y'all love poverty, therefore y'all love abortions. If you were really anti-abortion, you would be anti-poverty. You would be saying all of this blessed be the poor stuff that I thought was in your book. Stuff that I thought y'all cared about. Because y'all have these wonderful Christian principles. It's so weird how y'all pick and choose which principles y'all think are so wonderful. And what's another thing is that I find it so strange how y'all ignore the things that are in your book that I point out to you. Right? Going back to those comments I mentioned earlier. Every single one of those comments had something to say about something I didn't say, but none of them addressed the things I actually did say, such as the passage that I always show y'all about 1 Samuel 15 that actually shows that the Lord is like, no, kill babies, kill children. Hey, go over there, kill all the children, kill all the babies. Literally says that in plain fucking text. It says it straight up. Why is it that not a single comment on my video even acknowledged that? And then one of the people that commented, I replied and said, hey, why didn't you mention that in this video? And they still never replied to that. And this is exactly why I can't respect anti-abortionists, because y'all don't even argue in good faith. That's the biggest issue about all of this. Y'all are not serious about ending abortion if that's what you claim that you want. Committing acts of domestic terrorism is the absolute worst possible way to go about trying to solve a problem. Especially considering that you have this belief that there's the super weapon that y'all have that's supposedly like super duper, that shouldn't require you to have to engage in domestic terrorism. Right? Because you should be able to press the Jesus button and boom, miracle or something, right? Isn't that what y'all say? But that's not what I see. So that's why I get so confused when y'all come at me with these straw man fallacies all the time. And then y'all want to project the fallacy on me and say I'm straw manning you. That's the part that's even crazier. See, by me deleting these comments, I'm actually doing y'all a favor. See, I know that y'all have these echo chambers. I know that y'all are always on the hunt for anything that even remotely has to do with abortion, and y'all are the first to want to comment all the time and repeat the same arguments y'all been saying time immemorial. Missing the forest for the trees like y'all always do every single time. Refusing to look at the facts and the evidence and the data, the statistics that are easily available to you right now. The data is available. But see, y'all don't like data. Y'all hate data. Y'all only like data if it suits you. Other than that, y'all hate facts. Y'all hate statistics. Y'all hate data. Y'all hate it. Y'all hate it. Y'all can't stand it. But that's precisely why I have such an issue with theism as a whole, because these are the type of issues that exist as a result of theism and theist-like thinking, dogmatism, having a view and being so obsessed with it that you're blind to the reality that's right in front of you. You're so wedded to this position that you miss the data. And the sad part is that if you actually really wanted what you claim that you want, you have people here who are willing to help you. But see, y'all are so crazy, y'all don't want the help. Not only do you not want the help, but in my opinion, y'all are evil or something, because it's not abortion that y'all care about. There's something else. I don't know if it's just the control of women's bodies, if that's really the thing that y'all are super duper about. Because it can't be the abortion. It can't be the loss of the children's lives. That can't be the thing that y'all are super focused on. Because like I said, what about miscarriages? What about stillbirths? What about SIDS? Literally in the same ballpark. Y'all have no interest in any of that at all. I mean, at all. Not even a mention of any of it. And then another sad part is that the one thing that could really seriously literally help is the one thing that most of y'all are diametrically opposed to. You know, this thing called the scientific method. And that's one of the key reasons why I'm anti-theist. Look, I know that not all theists, I know, like they always say, not all theists are anti-science. But a lot of the people who are anti-science are theists. In fact, I would say the vast majority. Considering that the vast majority of the population are theists. You can just say they're the vast majority of pretty much everything. Particularly the group of rapists. And that's the other point. See, we always come back to this topic as well. That, you know, I don't understand why anti-abortionists, I mean, and this is one of the craziest things I've seen in my life, fam. Seeing some of these people in the comments say some of the things that they say and actually think that it makes sense. And they big up each other and pat each other on the back and thumb up each other. They hit the like button and act like, oh, they really said something. Like one of the people said, like, oh, well, the tough life is better than no life at all. That's so easy for you to say. that's so easy for you to say in your nice suburban home where everything's so perfectly harmonious, and you ain't out here on Skid Row, fucked up, wondering where the fuck you are, strung out on some crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so easy for y'all to say. But what's so crazy to me, and I've said this countless times, that these people seem to hate the children that actually exist in real life. And not only that, but it's like they go out of their way to literally dismiss the children that actually literally exist, which is really very, very extremely strange to me. Because they come on my page, they argue a straw man as if I'm pro-abortion, and they also kill all the kids then. So just because your kids get neglected means that we should not allow these. And I'm just like, I can't believe these are the things that y'all are saying. That you're acting as if these are the things that we're saying, because we ain't said none of that. I have not met anyone that's even remotely on the left that has said, yeah, no, actually, let's kill all the kids. I've never seen that, ever. Never. And see, here's the thing. The reason why the pro-choice position is the majority position, right? Because I looked that up, and I guess something like 51% are like pro-choice, and like 49% are. It was something like that. I'll pull it up. But it's a very small margin. I'll grant you that. It's a small margin. But the reason why those of us who are pro-choice are pro-choice is not that we're pro-abortion. It's that we're pro-reality. We understand that there are people in many different situations where they might not be in a good position to have kids and raise kids. So it's easy for y'all who are financially well off to talk about, oh yeah, it's not that hard. If you ain't in the hood, if you ain't never been in the poor rural area or any of that, I don't want to hear what you have to say. Unless you've been there and lived it, I can't comprehend how you could even possibly even remotely make any kind of argument. It's literally apathetic as fuck. And honestly, frankly, evil, if you ask me. Because it basically says you don't care about the quality of life of your fellow human beings, your fellow Americans. That's why I always say, y'all care so much about just the fact that kids can be born, but not about the quality of life that they're born into. And y'all try to decouple those things like you can do one without the other. And it's almost as if y'all want to do one without the other, even though they go hand in hand. Because, see, if you improve the quality of life of the kids, when they grow up, they're going to be less likely they want to get an abortion. Why is that so hard for y'all to understand? Why is that so hard for y'all to understand? If poverty is the key factor for half the abortions, why are y'all so silent on that? Why do y'all give not a single fuck about that? I don't understand it. How can you sit here and say you're anti-abortion but you're not anti-poverty? I don't understand it. Another major factor as well is that a lot of the women who get abortions also do it because they don't want a child to slow up their careers. You know, some of them are doing big things. They might be in healthcare. They might be lawyers. They might be executives. They might be politicians, whatever the case may be. But whatever it is, they're focused so much on their career, they do not want to have a child complicate that. So they go and get an abortion. Y'all don't seem to care about that part either. That's the part that really trips me out, because that's another aspect of capitalism that prevent women from, or should I say that disincentivize at least some women from having children. You feel what I'm saying? So, that's why I don't understand why y'all don't talk about the actual nuances and the details. Why y'all always just react and just say the same stuff. Abortion wrong. You're putting unborn children through a wood chipper. Abortion is murder. If y'all really believed all of that, what are you doing to stop it? Because blowing shit up, that's not the way to go. Roe v. Wade, I mean, that's to me, that's counterintuitive. Making it harder to get abortions is like counterintuitive. Because all you're doing is incentivizing people to go to places where it's easier to get abortions. And so, by going the rate of trying to make it illegal, as opposed to address the conditions that incentivize them to get abortions, now you guys are going down the road of being just straight up, like, authoritarians. You're trying to micromanage people. But for what purpose, though? To what end? Because by going the way of trying to force people to stop legally, you're only going to push them to want to do it more. It's like this. I had a debate with somebody, a fellow atheist, an anti-theist on TikTok, who suggested that, like, oh, if I was, like, president, would I want to ban Christianity? And mind you, I'm an anti-theist. So you would think that I'd be like, hell yeah, ban the hell out that shit. But I'm like, nah. Because that would be counterintuitive. Because I know how you Christians are. If I was able to become president tomorrow and I made Christianity illegal, y'all would go crazy. Y'all would be ape shit. Y'all would be having the churches all over the place. Y'all would be doing the terrorist attacks. I know what y'all would do. It would be counterintuitive. So that's why I attack y'all logically, verbally. In fact, I state explicitly, if you have to use violence to make your point, you already lost. You already lost. See, to me, when you actually have facts, data, information, statistics, evidence, the fuck I need to slap you for? I got the facts for sure. So you can miss me with that bull like a matador. I know. You've never heard these kind of facts before. But that's why I'm bringing them to you. That's why I'm showing you. Y'all gotta stop thinking with these primitive mindsets. Y'all gotta stop just being reactionary and understand the importance of the scientific method. See, with science, you can actually understand stuff. You can experiment and figure things out. You can determine what trends exist and how we can develop methodologies to act accordingly. That's not what y'all do. Y'all go by vibes. Y'all hope and wish. You read an ancient sci-fi fantasy novel repeatedly and think that somehow ancient books can help solve modern issues. That is insane. That's absolutely insane. And I can't comprehend how in 2026 Americans can still have this kind of a mindset. So that's why right now I'm trying my best not to be, super mean. I mean, I'm still, it's still hard for me to not be condescending, because I'm condescending to most people, because to me, most people don't know what the hell they're talking about. So just understand that this is not unique to you. It's just that I single y'all out because Y'all are the majority of the population. Y'all have the most influence, the most money, the most control. Y'all are in every aspect, every facet of the government, every aspect of the economy. Y'all are everywhere all across the country. You're 2/3 of the population. 2/3 of the population. So that's why I talk about y'all the most, right? Like, I'm an anti-theist. I am against all theists. I'm against all forms of theism. I single y'all out because we're here in America, and Christianity, there's 200 million of y'all. 200 million. I'm talking about my whole neighborhood, my family, everybody in the goddamn country. I literally can't watch the NBA. I can't watch the NFL. I can't watch TV shows. I can't even listen to songs without somebody having to bring up the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in their lyrics. Bringing up the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in their post-game, pre-game, during the game, halftime game, interviews. All the time. And yet, we still see these suboptimal conditions around us, right? So, as I usually do, for those of you who are unaware, one of the things that I always show y'all all the time is what's called the Global Peace Index. It is an index that ranks all the countries in the world, at least those that are officially counted as countries, based on their level of peace. All right? So, out of 163 countries, number 1 is the most peaceful. Number 163 is the least peaceful. All right? So, the least peaceful country in the world is Russia, along with Ukraine. They're literally at war. So, of course, they're going to be at the bottom because they're literally at war. Right? But one thing you all should notice is that, the United States, we're not that far off. We're at 128. All right? So, it's things like this that show you that we are in very, very suboptimal conditions here in the United States. These are the kinds of things that influence abortions. This is why I state we should be working to improve our collective quality of life. If you claim that you really want to reduce abortions, helping us move into the top, let's just say 100, trying to set the bar low for y'all, help us get to the top 100 and see if the abortion rate don't drop. But see, these are the things that y'all don't care about. Y'all do not care. Facts, data, information, statistics, things that are publicly available to y'all. Y'all don't care about this stuff. That's why y'all say the stuff that y'all say. That's why y'all respond the way y'all respond. Because y'all don't actually care about the data and the facts. You argue a bunch of emotional straw men all the time. Y'all miss the forest for the trees. You argue against points none of us ever made, ever. Oh, you found some goofy pseudo-liberal who might have said, no, abortion's cool. Okay, cool. But most of us leftists are all about improving our collective quality of life based on all these different factors, the economy, the environment. I know y'all can't stand the environment. Y'all can't stand breathing clean air and drinking clean water. But guess what? Perhaps if we had a cleaner environment, maybe people could think straight. But see, y'all might be drinking that tainted water that might be making it difficult for y'all to think straight. Because y'all are missing the connections. We are clearly in a suboptimal state here in America. I could bring up all sorts of statistics to show you how we're so behind in so many different ways, especially in comparison to other developed countries, right? I shouldn't have to do that to make the point. You should get the point. If you cared about the point, you would have already done it. Or what I'm saying now would spark you to do it because you care so much. But y'all don't. Y'all do not. That's why I criticize y'all. Because y'all react the same way every single time. Y'all read the title and then you already made up your mind. Y'all don't actually watch or consume the content. And I get it. Look, to be fair, I was very rude. I called y'all a bunch of very, very mean names. I said some very, very, some would consider them slurs. Right? I love using the R word. I have no problem using the R word because I think that it's an R word that people consider the R word when it was literally meant to be meaning the R word. And I get that people will say things like, oh, it's ableist. But I think there's a thin line between, like, well, I won't say it's a thin line. Like, I'm not about discriminating against disabled people at all. In fact, for me, what I'm about as a transhumanist is about actually figuring out ways. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I'm all about trying to figure out ways to help them become able, because in my opinion, it's better to be able than to be disabled. I don't know how anybody can ever argue that. It's like, would you rather be in a wheelchair or be able to walk? I don't think that anybody would ever, but that you'd be wrong. Or should I say, I would be wrong. Because, see, I know that there's this list of paraphilias, and that some of the paraphilias involve people actually having a strange, crazy attraction to disabilities. Not people with disabilities, but themselves having disabilities, disabling themselves, and stuff like that. The human psyche is a fascinating thing, for better or worse. So that's why it's so important to me that we as a society have real conversations about these kinds of topics, because they're so controversial, but I don't think that they're really that controversial. I think that people make it controversial because people are so immature that they can't have real conversations about any of these topics without, they think they're going to get the cooties or something. I don't know. I don't know if these people are just developmentally challenged or what. But it's like, dude, we're adults. We should be able to have topics about stuff like, we should be able to have conversations about topics such as these publicly every day without a problem. We should be able to have regular conversations. And in fact, in my opinion, we shouldn't even need to have debates about half of it because we have facts. I tell people all the time, I don't do debates. I do demonstrates. If you're saying this and that and whatever it is, whatever claim you're making, you can miss me all that talk. Show me. Show us. We live in a data-driven society now. So if you claim that you have the data, then show it to us. And if you have it, all you gotta do is present it, and then how am I gonna debate with that? How am I gonna dismiss that? You have literal data. You can provide us with the actual facts and the information that justify your claim. Why would I be against that? Why would any of us be against that? Why would any sane person be against your facts? But see, this is the issue with theists and any of their crusades that they push for. They never ever have facts. They don't care about facts. They dismiss the facts. If they were about the facts, first of all, they wouldn't be theists, because not a single theist could demonstrate any of their theological nonsense to begin with, which is, to me, the very thing that discredits their entire belief system as a whole. The fact that they can't produce the supernatural, super intelligence, super AI thing that they always obsess over. They talk about it, they obsess over it, they worship it, they make songs, singing songs about it, holding hands, dancing around it, flipping out and fucking having all kinds of like epileptic seizures over it publicly, but they never produce a single shred of this supposed thing. All I see is a bunch of people engaging in mass delusions, triggering the dopamine releases in their brain or something, or triggering some kind of an episode of some sort. I don't know. I think there should be more psychological studies to go into this stuff. But the bigger point is that nothing really is actually getting done. That's the bigger point. Nothing really is actually getting done. Mind you, Christians are in every facet of government. The president, the vice president, the secretary of state, all of the cabinet, all of the Supreme Court, damn near, that the overwhelming majority of Congress, and all the local municipalities all across the country. Christianity all over the place. Extremely highly represented. For 128 on the Global Peace Index, y'all are miserable failures. That is a miserable failure. For y'all to talk about that y'all have a religion of peace, how could that be if we're 128? And y'all have direct control of the government and have had direct control of the government this whole time. All of Trump and all his predecessors have all been Christians of some sort. They've been some kind of Christian. And going back a ways. I'm talking about decades. Back to JFK. And further before that. Lots of Christian presidents in modern U.S. history. And we're 128 on the Global Peace Index. That is a goddamn shame. For people that claim they have the ultimate super duper thing that has super duper power, 128 is miserable. That is pathetic. If this super thing gets you to 128, give up. Just give up. Stop talking about this super thing. You have nothing. That's why I came up with the ultimate rage paradox. The fact that the universe is 13.8 billion years of age. Okay? The Earth is 4.5 billion years of age. Christianity's been around for thousands of years. Over the course of those thousands of years, billions of people who subscribe to Christianity have existed, and throughout that time, not a single one of them have demonstrated anything. There's all these claims that someone somewhere wrote something or whatever, Josephus this, and freaking whatever that. What's the other dude? I forgot his name. It doesn't even matter. The fact of the matter is, none of them demonstrate anything. Even their story, their lore itself, this whole Jesus story, is literally a guy who did nothing. Walked around, a charlatan. The Jordan Peterson of his time walked around, said a bunch of deep-sounding things and accomplished nothing. Didn't change the world. Didn't solve a major world problem. Didn't end poverty, hunger, homelessness, rape, incest. Any major world problem, ended none of them. And throughout the time of his followers existing, none of them have been able to figure out any solutions to anything. But here's the even bigger problem. Right? That at the same time, they operate the greatest rape culture the world has ever seen. To this day. One of the things that we do on this show is that we look at the rape story of the day, the Christian rape story of the day, because they're guaranteed to occur. They're guaranteed to occur because it's, at least it appears to be a fundamental part of their culture. That's why we bring it up. It's so easy to demonstrate the falsehood of Christianity and all of theism by demonstrating their consistent immoralities and their complete, I don't know if it's inability or if it's just complete apathy. They don't want to think about it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to address it. Or if they just fail to address it. Maybe, if you ask them directly, perhaps they might actually seem reasonable and say, no, we're totally against that. But see, here's my thing. These things happen every day. I just pulled up a story that was posted 2 hours ago, and I'm about to show y'all. But it's the fact that, like, it almost seems like theists, anti-abortionists, it's almost as if they go out of their way to try to, like, circumvent discussion about these kinds of topics. It's like they're so hyper-focused about being anti-abortion. And see, that's the thing. They don't care about anti-abortionism. I should say, they don't care about stopping abortion. They care about being anti-abortionist. That is a subtle but key difference. But, despite this, they're very, very, very apprehensive when it comes to discussing these topics. It's almost as if they're like, hey, who cares about this rape stuff? The children are getting killed. And I'm like, first of all, y'all aren't seeing how these things go hand in hand. But more importantly, it's almost as if you're being deliberate in your dismissals about this topic. Because it's an extremely important topic. Because this concerns your kids. And this is why it's so crazy to me that they care more about other people's pre-kids than their own current kids that exist right now. Y'all pretend like y'all care about the kids. Y'all are on the front line about being against porn, right? Y'all definitely hate the porn. Y'all are totally schmodily like anti-premarital sex. Y'all are very vocal and public about that. But you're not vocal and public about being anti-rape in the church. Even though it occurs all the time. All the time. Such as this story that I'm bringing up right now. About how a former Ottawa pastor is facing, guess what? Guess what? Oh, there's a video. Oh, that has nothing to do with what we were talking about. No, there's not a video. It says, former pastor James Andrew Evans, 64, served at the Chinese Christian Church of Ottawa from 2001 to 2005 in that Toronto Chinese Mennonite Church. He also will face 2 counts of SA, 2 counts of SA with a weapon, 2 counts of SE, 2 counts of possessing. Yo, fam. Hey, come on. Fam. I don't get it. Why aren't y'all up in arms over this? All of you Christians who are so morally superior to all of us, why don't y'all seem to be the least bit concerned? These are the issues that I'm having with y'all. Y'all don't seem to even remotely care at all about any of this stuff at all. And I'm like, all of these things go together because I don't know if y'all know this, but rape is an act of violence. Okay? So when you see that America's such a super duper like low country on the Global Peace Index, I'm just saying, I mean, one of the biggest things, in fact, I'm actually like mad at myself. I haven't mentioned this in a while. Is according to the domestic, matter of fact, let me bring it up. Yeah, see, y'all need to be made aware of this stuff because this is the data. Okay, and I get so fucking sick of people want to talk about shit but don't want to talk about the data. So check this out, right? So this is according to the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Okay? So just, just so you're aware. They say an average of 24 people per minute are victims of rape, physical violence, or stalking by an intimate partner in the United States. More than 12 million women and men over the course of a single year. Nearly 3 in 10 women, 29%, and 1 in 10 men, 10%, in the U.S. have experienced rape, physical violence, and are stalking by a partner and reported it having a related impact on their functioning. Now think about it. This is a pretty large percentage. Like, that's not no small number, fam. That is way the hell more than one would think, especially considering that we have this Christian nation with all these super duper morals or whatever. And I don't understand why anti-abortionists don't seem to have a problem with this. Because again, if we improve the quality of life for all of us collectively, guarantee you reduce the amount of abortion just off the rip. But again, y'all don't care about quality of life. Y'all don't care about what people actually go through. Y'all don't care about the lives that people actually live. Let me be clear about this, okay? I don't know, maybe I'm missing it. But these are among partners, okay? This doesn't even count the abuse done by parents and adults and what have you. So the fact of the matter is, it trips me out that these people don't seem to care at all about the quality of life that people are actually experiencing right now, today. They're so hyper focused on just this one thing, and it's not even like the thing. It's one aspect of the thing, not the actual thing itself. And so this is why I have a major problem with these types of people, with these anti-abortionists, with these theists, with these Christians, because they don't take any of this stuff seriously. They are so wedded to their sci-fi fantasy ideology that they are completely divorced from reality, the facts, the statistics, the evidence, the information, the data that's available, that's publicly available, that we look at daily. You feel what I'm saying? This stuff is not hard to find. These are not difficult to find facts. Quick Google search and we find all kinds of data. You know what I'm saying? Like we got the Pew Research Center. We got the facts that they have available. We got all kinds of research and facts and data available. And yet, the people that I end up debating with, that I end up encountering, the people who want to comment on my videos, they ain't produced a single shred of a fact. They just produce their emotions, as they always do. They want to argue, oh, so you want to kill babies, huh? And I'm like, fam, your book talks about how the Lord wants to do that, commanded people to do that. And so I don't understand how Christians can even talk. And like I said, not a single one of those people who comment to even acknowledge that. And I showed it on the screen in that video. Not a single one of those comments acknowledged it at all, which goes to show me that these anti-abortionists are disingenuous as hell. And then they want to try to play games like, well, let's argue the theological debate later. No, let's have the debate now, because it's mostly you Christians that have this position. It's mostly Christians that are, and conservative Christians in particular, even though some of y'all are liberal too, but it's primarily these conservative Christians that hold these values. And that's the problem, because you're conservative Christians. You're conservative and you're Christian. So in both ways, you're completely divorced from reality. I don't know what it is that you want. And I don't know how you could possibly think you can achieve that when you're completely divorced from logic and facts and data. Right? When your group engages in behaviors that I thought y'all were so against, right? Don't y'all talk about the Ten Commandments and stuff like that? Don't y'all talk about, oh, thou shalt not kill and stuff like that, but then you blowing up abortion clinics and kidnapping people and murdering people? Well, isn't that kind of like against your shit? But that's neither here nor there. Because then some of y'all gonna say, well, that was the Old Testament, in which case I'm like, well, then why even have it then? Why, if you're gonna just say that was the Old Testament, then why even have an Old Testament? And then if you're only going to go by the New Testament, then why are you not focused on that actual New Testament? Because y'all pick and choose the different parts that you want to acknowledge that you don't. Because I don't recall any aspect of the Bible talking about giving rich guys more money so that they can fucking have tax breaks and all that. I don't recall it saying none of that. I know, because I was a Christian for 6 years. I went to a Christian college as a Christian, studying Christianity, going deep into fucking the Bible and writing exegeses and things of that nature. So I am very highly familiar with the Christian theology, with Christian text. That's why I show your stuff to you. And I am personally not a big fan of going into the text, personally. Because it is my hypothesis that the mere fact that you can't present the supernatural super thing disqualifies every aspect of your entire belief system. The book is worthless without the super duper thing. Because all the book is just a bunch of claims by a bunch of no-name people who are completely detached from reality. They were probably all suffering from various psychological disorders. The stories are completely convoluted and nothing really actually gets resolved. Nothing really actually happens. Nothing really actually happens. All you see are a bunch of delusional people hearing voices and engaging in random behaviors. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. That's it. Just a bunch of crazy people trying stuff, doing stuff. A complete, just a hodgepodge of just different writings that they don't really connect like that. They don't really make any sense. Nothing really gets accomplished at all. That's why when I challenge theists, when I challenge Christians, it's very difficult for them to make sense of any of this. I tried making sense of it. I dug deep. I minored in philosophy in college so that I can also have the logical understanding to make sense of this illogical crap. And I realized, oh, this is illogical crap. There is no making heads or tails of it at all. There is no basic logical basis for it. It's just senseless nonsense. And I asked Christians, what exactly is the point of Christianity? Like, what is the goal that y'all are actually seeking to accomplish in the grand scheme of things? By the end of all of time, what is it that Christians are hoping to have accomplished by the end of that? There's no real clear answer. Glorifying God or something. And that is beyond vague. That's way too vague. What does glorifying God mean? What does that actually mean? What is this God thing? What is it? Where is it? Why should we care about it? And how can we tell whether or not you're glorifying it? And why should we care whether or not you're glorifying it? How does that help us that you're glorifying this thing? Whatever it is that you can't show us, that you will never ever show us because you can't, because it's not real. Thousands of years and not a single one of you can produce a shred of anything. A big fat 0.0%. Asserting this thing that's supposedly so something and is so great or whatever, but y'all can't demonstrate that it does anything actually. So I'm just trying to figure out, what is it that y'all actually want? What is it that y'all are actually pushing for? Because if you actually wanted to reduce and eliminate abortion, then you got to get real with reality first. See, I know that a lot of you anti-abortionists, the overwhelming majority of y'all are Christians. One of the things Christians love to say is that they're in the world, not of it. That's one of the things they always love to say, right? It's like their view of being, they're above everything. They're above everybody because they're special. They're called. They're blessed. They're going to the super duper happy-go-lucky place. So who cares about this temporary stop off? They're going to super duper magical land. But the problem is, they don't know that. Because they can't show us where super duper magical land is. They talk in terms of like the vague spiritual, like, oh well no, it's like somewhat kind of like somewhat this other realm of existence that like science can't really penetrate We can penetrate it somehow, but I can't really explain how. I can just say a lot of stuff and act like, well, if I say it really, really passionately, that somehow like makes it more valid somehow. I don't know. That doesn't work, fam. That doesn't work. That doesn't work. So forgive me. Forgive me for not being convinced by your strategy of sorts. I don't buy it. I can't buy it. I am completely unconvinced by it. Because every day that we do this, no matter what happens, y'all will produce a bunch of nothing. I don't have to go out of my way to do all this stuff. All I have to do is sit here and say, show us the Lord. And then you want to try to come back with, well, can you show us the Lord isn't real? Can you show us it isn't? What does that even mean? It's the worst possible argumentation ever. To say, can I prove something that you've never demonstrated isn't real? Right? They try to use the same argument as like the Holocaust. There's all kinds of evidence and data for the Holocaust. That's why anybody denying the Holocaust has a burden of proof to demonstrate that the Holocaust was actually a hoax or was some kind of whatever. But when it comes to Christianity, not a single Christian has demonstrated the Christ. Not a single Christian has demonstrated the Yahweh. They haven't demonstrated this Holy Spirit thing. They haven't demonstrated that it does anything, that they do anything, that they accomplish anything, that there's any value to anything, that there's any use of any kind, that they can actually accomplish real things, impactful things, helpful things right now for society with these things. The only things that they can show us are these kinds of stories. Right? East Texas church volunteer accused of essaying at least 5 people. You know what I'm saying? An East Texas man who volunteered at several local churches is accused of sexually assaulting at least 5 people. Doyle Hodge II, 40, was booked into the Polk County Jail on a sexual assault of a child charge on a $100,000 bond. Okay, like, come on, fam. Fam. Like, fam. Y'all see the date, right? Y'all see the date? Yeah, that's today. Right? This is just a few hours ago. This is according to CBS Texas, fam. Like, dude, via Yahoo News. Why is it that we can do this every day? Why is it that we can do this every day? Why is it that Christians of all kinds, particularly anti-abortionists, don't care about any of this? Why is it that they don't seem to be the least bit concerned with how children that exist right now are being affected right now? And then why is it that they act like it's okay to say, well, because I'm focused on this over here, we don't have to focus at all on that over there? It's almost like they want to dismiss that over there. It's like they only want to focus on this right here, but they're not even solving this right here. Because they're not being realistic about this right here. So that's why I'm so confused. I'm so confused as to what you anti-abortionists want. Because if you really wanted to stop abortion, you would be on my side. You would be on my side. See, unlike y'all, I care about the facts and the data. That's why I show you, right? That's why I show you. Look, check this out. Pew Research Center, I mentioned that earlier. what the data says about abortion in the U.S. Okay, it's from March 25th, 2024. It says right here, Pew Research Center has conducted many surveys about abortion over the years, providing a lens into Americans' views on whether the procedure should be legal, among a host of other questions. In the center survey conducted nearly a year after the Supreme Court's June 2022 decision that ended the constitutional right to abortion, 62% of U.S. adults said the practice should be legal. In all or most cases, 62%. 62%. That's the majority. Okay? 62%, while 36% said it should be illegal in all or most cases. Another survey conducted a few months before the decision showed that relatively few Americans take an absolutist view on the issue. So, how many abortions are there each year? There are about, it's just weird the way that they said this. There were 625,978 abortions in D.C. and the 46 states with available data that year, up from 597,355 in 2020. Last year, for which Guttmacher reported the yearly national total was 2020. It said that, that there hasn't been any recent data, at least not according to this article. I don't know if there's anything more recent, but that's the whole thing. So I guess it topped off back in the 90s. Okay, all right, that's cool. All right, but see, here's the thing. Now, mind you, a lot of different things happened during that time, but the fact of the matter is we have the data. We have all kinds of data available, right? And so the fact is we should be using the data to our advantage. We should be a solutions-oriented society. Instead of arguing these small little issues, we need to take a step back and look at what exactly are we trying to do. See, my whole thing is this. Anti-abortionists are so focused on anti-abortion that they miss the whole entire picture. Okay? Now, I say this all the time. I value life. I think that life is precious. That's why I talk about the Fermi paradox all the time. The mere fact that we haven't found aliens, despite all of these discoveries we've made throughout the cosmos with the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope, go to show that life is really precious. It really is precious. So that's why we need to take it seriously. That's why y'all need to knock it off with the sci-fi fantasy. That's why y'all need to calm down with your emotional responses. Calm down with your emotional appeals. Actually open your ears and listen. Because y'all do a horrible job of actually listening and hearing and reading and seeing what's there. You make up your own arguments. You make up your own rebuttals to arguments that were never made. And ultimately, y'all don't think this stuff through. Y'all think that because there's so many of y'all that subscribe to your ridiculous ideology, that means that y'all should have all the wherewithal to make all the decisions. And I'm here to show you that you are unqualified to do that. That, in fact, if anything, none of you should be anywhere near a position of lawmaking or decision making because you are completely divorced from reality. Okay? There are so many aspects of our society that are failed, that need optimization, reform, what have you. But the one thing that you could reform is your own backyard. That's why we show these stories about all these losers in your communities, in your churches, in your communities, in your schools, all that keep getting caught all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like, I take time away, and guess what? We find news stories. Look at that. Former Round Rock pastor convicted of guess what? Guess what? I mean, how is it that these types of stories are always being connected to y'all every day? How is it that there are endless stories, and these aren't just like some Christian random person, even though that would still be bad enough. These are your priests, these are your pastors, these are your volunteers, the people who represent y'all the most, the best, right? This loser, this freaking loser, this Texas dude, right? Like, dude, I need y'all to understand, for real, none of these people have any special insight. They have no special connection to anything. Theism, particularly Christianity, is the greatest, longest-running sci-fi fantasy MLM scam in the history of humanity. They have made a living, made a killing, selling a product and service that doesn't actually exist. I mean, they've duped all of y'all. And that's why I always bring it up. That's why I'm so anti-theist. Because I bought it too. I helped invest in that scam too. Until I recognized what they were for who they were. And then when I realized the truth, I couldn't believe it. And now that I see y'all, I feel so sad for y'all. Because I understand y'all. I was one of y'all. That's why y'all trip me out even more. Y'all act like I don't understand y'all position when I was one of y'all. I was a Christian for 6 years. Like I said earlier, I attended a Christian college as a Christian because I wanted to deepen my understanding of Christianity as a Christian. That's why I minored in philosophy, so that I could further understand my Christianity from a logical perspective. Enhance my logic skills, make sense of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Till I realized there was nothing to make sense of. Dude, if the dude was a real person, he was delusional. Delusions of grandeur, as they call it. A lot of people like to say it was such a great guy. I don't buy it. I think he was the Chris Angel of his time. He performed some very, very captivating and convincing magic tricks, but he didn't solve anything fundamentally. He didn't achieve anything truly. That's why it's so crazy that people obsess over this guy that didn't really do anything. They always say this whole, he died for our sins or whatever. What does that even mean? That's what scams are. They're vague. They're always vague. When it comes time to actually getting into the weeds, getting into the specifics, actually splitting the hairs, there's nothing there. There's no substance. There's no value. That's why y'all keep y'all echo chambers, because there's no value to the things that y'all believe and the things that y'all assert and purport. If there was value there, it shouldn't be this difficult for y'all to show us. People like me, who are true skeptics. A person who was once convinced by your way, who understands your belief probably better than you do. Like I said, that's why I deleted all those comments. I'm saving y'all from yourselves because y'all look so crazy. Saying the same old arguments all day and literally ignoring all the facts that I presented. Right? I mean, it was so crazy. Like, I had somebody in the comments say, oh, like, who is this for? You're being so mean. I'm like, fam, do y'all not be hearing y'all selves and y'all be talking about us and y'all fucking facilities? Y'all act like y'all don't be having churches. I've sat in churches as an atheist where I've had to listen to the preacher preach about how we're so immoral and evil and terrible and horrible and evil and terrible and such evil, demonic, evil, terrible, horrible people, and we need the Lord Savior Jesus Christ in our lives, but at the same time, y'all are the biggest rape culture in the world. That shit is crazy to me. And y'all seem to be not even the least bit, like, shameless about, not even the least bit shameful about it. Y'all are completely shameless about it. Even though we can pull up story after story after story after story after story. They just never stop. They never stop. Okay, look at this. Fort Worth pastor jailed after indictment on, guess what? It's always the same thing no matter what. Pastor Alonzo Diego Fuller Jr. in the Tarrant County Jail since May 5th. No bond posted, no amount set, because the charismatic church leader is facing a charge of, guess what? SA, sexual assault for a victim who is allegedly under the age of 18. Right? Fam. The stories never stop. They never end. It's always the same thing, the same thing, the same thing, the same old thing, the same old fucking thing. It never ever stops. It never ever ends. And I just don't understand it. So that's why I'm always confused on what are y'all about? Why don't y'all have any interest at all in stopping these losers? The one thing that y'all can control, this is y'all community. These are y'all kids that these losers are preying on. And y'all don't care at all? This doesn't bother you. These are your church leaders. These are the kids in your communities, in your facilities, in your pews, and you know what I'm saying? The coffers. How are y'all not even the least bit concerned that every single day we can find news stories all across the country of the same old stuff? Look at this. And the Des Moines Register, an Iowa Lutheran school principal and coach arrested for the same stuff. The same stuff. The principal and track coach at Lutheran school in Cedar Falls was recently arrested for unlawful sexual conduct with a student at his home. It's crazy. These fools are my age. I turned 40 this year. These fools are my age. Lucas Tanny, 40, the 6th through 12th grade principal at Valley Lutheran School in Cedar Falls, was arrested on Friday, May 29th, and booked into the Black Hawk County Jail by Waterloo Police on the felony charge of sexual exploitation by a school employee and grooming, according to a news release. Police received a report the day prior of an alleged inappropriate relationship between Tanny and the student. Waterloo Police spokesperson Captain Gus Farmer said in the release. Tanny was the student's principal and track coach. Come on, fam. Come on, fam. It's the same old thing. It's the same old thing. A story as old as time. These are the kinds of things that they just destroy your credibility as a whole. Because y'all claim y'all care about stopping abortions, but y'all don't care about the facts that lead to it. But then y'all seem to be completely apathetic to these stories, such as Notre Dame investigation revealing sex abuse allegations involving priests. Yeah, a story as old as time. You know what? You see that sky right there is blue as well. I just wanted y'all to know that. And oh, by the way, fire is hot, right? It might burn. Oh, and in Chicago, the wind blows a lot. I don't know if y'all were aware of that, but we're the windy city because there's a lot of wind here. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah. I could have told you that. The University of Notre Dame, mind you, this is a couple days ago. The University of Notre Dame said an investigation into The University of Notre Dame said an investigation into the former leader of a residence hall found multiple occurrences of sexual abuse. According to a 25-page report released this week, Reverend Thomas King sexually touched or assaulted students at Notre Dame after he left the university. The report says King engaged in grooming behaviors and used his power as an authority figure to orchestrate inappropriate situations. Fam, is anybody surprised, man? This is what they do. But see, the the point of me bringing these stories up is not just to shame Christians, not to just, like, let me point out another loser, like this loser, former Mississippi pastor teacher sentenced for child exploitation. It's to show you how common this shit is. It's so common that we can find story after 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 story every day. Every day. I can take days off, right? I can take days off. I didn't do a live yesterday. I can take days off and the stories pile up. We got a giant bank of backstories, right? I got another story I've been planning to talk about for like a week, right? I'll talk about it tomorrow. But we can always bet on what do they call it? Old Faithful. Literally, Old Faithful. The literal Old Faithful. You're always getting caught for the same shit. Every single time. Look at this. It says Attorney General Lynn Fitch announced Kyle Michael Hillary, 32, of Olive Branch, was sentenced to 35 years of 25 years to serve day for day without possibility for parole in the custody of the Mississippi Department of Corrections and 5 years of probation on May 26, 2026. Hillary was also ordered to pay $1,000 to the Victims of Human Trafficking and Commercial Sexual Exploitation Fund and $1,000 to the Mississippi Children's Trust Fund. Hillary must also register as a sex offender. Whippy! Praise the Lord. Oh, that's it. So y'all got to say? Yeah, y'all really kept that pastor part on the lowdown, didn't y'all? But anywho, the fact that this is every day for Christianity, it just goes to show y'all have no argument. Y'all have no argument of any kind. Your entire worldview is completely garbage. I hate that, y'all take real great offense at that, but it's just the facts. It's just the facts. There is no Jesus anywhere. There is no Father, Son, Holy Spirit thing anywhere. If there was, you'd be able to show us. No, the only thing y'all have is a bunch of rapists around y'all. That's all y'all got is a bunch of rapists all over the place. Y'all are Christianity is the greatest rape culture I've ever seen. The only thing that comes close is Islam. Right? But theism as a whole is the greatest rape culture ever. In fact, it is my hypothesis that that rapists get into the theism because it creates a safe haven for rapists. Because how many stories have we seen where the people who are involved had help? Where institutional problems were occurring and the whole institution was helping to cover the shit up. On a global scale, I mean, we see it all the time. It's not just the Catholic Church. It's all these different denominations. All these different Protestant denominations, too. They focus so much on trying to, at least what they call trying to stop abortion. They don't actually stop abortion. But most importantly, they help to worsen the lives of everybody else, including their own children. They care so much about abortion, right, and not actually caring about the facts that cause abortion, that they say fuck everything else. They don't even care if their own kids get raped. And see, and here's the thing about that. I always bring this up in this topic. I'm always going to show y'all. It's the same thing I always show y'all. It's this website called notinourchurch.com. Okay? This is a website by Christians. This is a website by a Christian. Right? The goal of the... Matter of fact, let me show you. It trips me out. It literally says at the very top, our mission is to help churches become unattractive environments for predatory abusers by putting awareness, prevention, and healing resources in one place. We do the research and share the resources. Yeah, well, they failed. You failed. I'm sorry, lady who wrote this, but yeah, your website is not helping churches become unattractive environments for predatory abusers. As a matter of fact, if anything, you're helping me make the case that you will never ever help churches become unattractive environments for predatory abusers, which is why people need to stop going to churches, period. Or I should say it's one of the main reasons why. The other main reason is because they're full of shit completely. Even if there was no rape at all in churches, they're all wrong. They're all literally incorrect, inaccurate, unfounded, baseless, useless, nonsensical, imbecilic, buffoonish. Neither of them can produce a shred of their theological claims right now. It is 6:06 p.m. Central Standard Time on June the 1st, 2026. Not one single Christian will ever produce any theological nothing. They will never show us the Lord. They will never show us the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. They can't produce the exact coordinates of the super duper thing. They can't show us where the Lord can be found right now. They can't show us how we can reach the Lord, how we can contact the Lord. They'll say, oh, if you just pray and pray and pray, then the Lord will answer your prayers, except when it comes to stopping rape. Either y'all just aren't praying to stop the rape, or the Lord is refusing, absolutely, positively refusing to answer your prayers to stop the rape. So either way it goes, it seems like a good and valid reason why you all should leave the church. Because there's no good reason for y'all to believe it. There's no good reason for y'all to subscribe to it. There's just no good reason to do it. It makes you feel good is not a good reason. Drugs make people feel good. Does not mean that they should do it. Because ultimately they can be highly detrimental to the person's health. And that could explain why we're in the midst of a mental health and substance abuse crisis. And oh, what do you know? Christianity fails to solve that too. Even though they claim to have this ultimate super duper thing that can do all this stuff. Except it does nothing at all. I mean, literally at all. When it comes to these stories, it does nothing. All these people that believe in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, can't none of them solve anything. I mean, literally anything. Between 200 million people, they can't solve a single problem at all. How is that possible? Y'all got all the money, all the resources, all the whole government at your fingertips. What's the problem? Maybe, just maybe, you're all full of shit and y'all need to knock it the fuck off. Okay? I know that a lot of y'all will hate hearing that, but unless you can produce a shred of evidence for your sci-fi fantasy claims, it's just that, sci-fi fantasy. You can miss me with the sci-fi. If your stuff is real science, show us now. Otherwise, move around, knock it off, shut the hell up. I'm dead ass serious, because y'all have had so much to say for so long, and that's why I get really like absolutely like it really grinds my gears. Like, it's one of my biggest pet peeves, right? Because Christians have had the loudspeaker for literally forever. I mean, in damn near every facet of every society throughout human history for the past couple thousand years. And in America, Christians have had such a loud ass voice. Such a loud voice throughout human history. I finally get a mic. They trying to shut my mic off. They shut my mic off on fucking TikTok. Because they can't handle their inability to produce a shred of any of their sci-fi fantasy claims. If they could do it, they could shut me the hell up right now. I would shut myself the fuck up. All you gotta do is show me your stuff that you talk about, and I will shut my camera off right now. I'll just be like, you know what? I'm done, guys. I'm done. I'm not going to do a live anymore. I'm just going to shut this whole thing down. But see, the problem is, y'all ain't got nothing. Y'all ain't got nothing. Y'all have literally nothing. So I'm literally confused as to why y'all are still so vocal. To this day. How y'all can still be so brazenly just, against me, but y'all ain't even listening to none of the stuff I said. You reacted to the mean words, because I like to use a lot of profanity, but I've really tried to temper it today. I really seriously tempered it today. I kept it to a super minimal, because y'all don't understand. This is easy. This is light work. I do this. I do this. I do this to show you how easy it is. to show you why you are all ridiculous for still acting like cave people in the modern age. Always reacting and reacting and reacting instead of actually being pragmatic, practical, logical, factual, data-based, based on data. Not just reacting based on your emotions and your feelings. Reading a title and reacting to the title. Arguing straw men, arguing against things that I never said, literally refusing to acknowledge the things that I did say. Like I said, all those comments on my video, none of them, I mean absolutely none of them addressed the actual content that was there. And it's so obvious how often people do this. That's why I can't respect y'all. I can't respect your view. Because not only is your view senseless, but y'all don't engage in good faith. It'd be one thing if you actually consumed the content, heard what I said, and reacted to that, right? Because again, not one single of these anti-abortionists mentioned the fact that their position is literally contradicted by their own Bible. That there's literally the passage in 1 Samuel 15 where the Lord commands, or at least allegedly, according to some guy named Samuel, according to Samuel, the Lord told him to tell this guy Saul to murder a bunch of children and babies, all the children and babies in the land of Amalek. I don't know if y'all know this, but that's child murder and infanticide. If y'all are so against killing babies, look, I'm against killing babies too. I love babies. I love babies. Children are the future. So it's not lost on me that children are the future. I'm all about protecting the future. But if your book says that the Lord is cool with it in any case, right? And a lot of y'all will try to say, oh, I'm taking it out of context, but it doesn't matter the context. That's the part y'all don't seem to want to understand. The fact that you even have to say that, means that y'all already lost. Because it doesn't matter the context. The context is irrelevant. The fact is that there's a precedent for it, according to a direct passage in your lore. Whatever the context is, there is a context. There is a reason. The fact that, in this context, it's okay to murder babies and children. That coincides directly with your crusade. That's the point I kept trying to show y'all, that I keep trying to show you that y'all don't want to look at. That your own book says that the Lord said, kill the babies and children. It doesn't matter the reason. It doesn't matter the context. It's the fact that it's there, and I can point it out and show you. And that I have showed you, and y'all ignore it anyway. Which means y'all don't care. Y'all don't care about your own belief system. Y'all don't care about being logical people. Y'all don't care about listening to the people that you claim to be disagreeing with. You're just reactionary, emotionally immature people. I'm going to be nice today. You're emotionally immature people. And you're factless. You're logicless. You're dataless. You are factless. You have no information. You are ignorant. Willfully so. Because this data is available to every single one of you. Okay? But yet, y'all want to ignore these facts. Y'all want to ignore facts like, say, the fact that according to this Christian site, there are studies that demonstrate that the faith community is even more vulnerable to abuse than secular environments. The Abel and Harlow study revealed that 93% of sex offenders describe themselves as religious, and that this category of offender may be the most dangerous. Other studies have found that sexual abusers within faith communities have more victims than younger victims. So I just wanted to point that out. And then also this one last part. For the women out there, According to the late A.W. Richard Sipe, the sexual exploitation of women by priests is not uncommon. Other researchers have argued that misconduct by clerics toward women is even more prevalent than their sexual abuse of children. According to research cited in When Pastors Pray, a publication of the World Council of Churches, 90 to 95% of victims of clergy sexual exploitation are women. So that's the shit that drives me crazy. That's the shit that drives me crazy. Because so many women love the Lord. I don't understand it. And it's like, see, it's so hard because, like, you know, I was in it and I broke out of it. And it's hard. It's so hard at this stage, even though I get it because I was there. I know it took me a while to break free, but it's the fact that so many people are so wedded to this belief that they will never let it go. It's hard to, like, look at a lot of these people as victims, even though they are. And that's the sad part about it, right? Because I've been an anti-theist for so long. Like I've said, I was only a Christian for 6 years. Okay, from sophomore year in high school to about, like, right after I graduated, right about when I graduated from college. I was, you know, I was a Christian, and by the time I graduated college, I was pretty much not a Christian no more. Because I studied it so much and I just couldn't make sense of it. So that was in 2009. I graduated college. It's 2026, right? So I've been a non-Christian for about 17 years. But it's like, it's so sad to me to see so many people still in the church, still loving that craziness, still refusing to engage seriously with people who aren't part of their ridiculous community, who subscribe to this absurdity, who think that they're fighting this good fight, that they're fighting this evil force or something, and that by praying and hoping and wishing and reading the same old sci-fi fantasy nonsense that they're somehow in some way accomplishing something. I just don't understand how they could possibly think that. But that's why I do what I do, to try to speak to y'all and try to be real with y'all. And I'm not okay, right now I'm holding punches, but for the most part, I don't hold punches. I decided to be nice today because I was able to see, I listened to a lot of I don't want to say hate, but it was kind of hate. Like, it wasn't hate. I mean, some of the people came and said rude stuff, of course. Trolls are going to be trolls, of course, right? They always going to try to hit below the belt. Oh, look at this guy. He's so fat, or whatever the fuck y'all want to say. But the fact of the matter is, you can hit me with every insult that you want. You're still not showing me that you're being serious about what you claim that you want. The things that you claim that you're about. Stopping abortion. Ending all abortion. If that was really what you were about, you would be logical. You would be factual. You would be reasonable. You would have a real serious conversation. You would listen. Actually listen to what I have to say. You would actually choose to engage seriously, logically, reasonably. You would think about the things that you say, the things that you do, that you have done, the things that you have purported. You would look at the things that I show you. Oh, you're such a super duper Christian. And why is the Lord okay with killing kids in certain situations? Why would it explicitly state that? And why would it not explicitly state anti-abortion? Why doesn't it explicitly state your position? That's the part that's even crazier. That you're fighting for a position that's not even supported by your Lord. Okay, you can say, well, in this passage over here, Jesus said something about something, but that's beside the point. The point is that in the Bible, it literally says the Lord said, kill the kids and the children. Kill the babies, kill the children, kill them all. Murder them. Do not spare them. It said that. It says it explicitly. It's not, oh, you can interpret based on some vague thing that he said, eliminate. No, it says directly, do not spare them. So it's hard for me to listen to what y'all have to say, which is why I'm so condescending with y'all. See, I try my best to, be respectful, because I'm willing to have conversations with anyone, and that's one of the problems that I have with YouTube. I feel like YouTube really needs to improve its live functionality. I cannot believe that TikTok has existed this whole time and YouTube still hasn't gotten it after all these years. I mean, it's been like 5-6 years. And y'all are still so behind on the live functionality. Y'all haven't even tried to improve upon that. And I'm disgusted by that. Like, I'm truly disgusted by that. But that's neither here nor there. The fact of the matter is, I don't have a problem having a conversation with anybody so long as you're coming through with an actual good faith argument. As long as you're truly, genuinely interacting. Not just rattling off your bullshit talking points, but having a real conversation. But see, this is the issue we always have with theists. Because their belief system is not wedded in reality. Most theists might be aware of this, but they have to engage in the apologetics anyway, because they're so wedded to their belief. So when I do what I do, I don't expect to change any particular theist's mind. One of the people asked me, who do I do this for? I do this for the people who are reasonable, who are rational, who get it. The people who are on the verge of deconverting from that sci-fi fantasy nonsense, who haven't heard this position, who haven't heard this actual fucking content before. Because see, one of the things I learned with doing this is that there is an actual force working desperately to suppress this kind of content. Because as I've stated countless times, I was doing the same thing on TikTok, going crazy. Okay, if I didn't have to deal with all the Orwellian bullshit on TikTok, I would be Mr. Beast by now. Okay, I was growing at a very rapid rate very quickly, and they had to choke me out very, very quickly. And they did it twice, which is why I eventually had to leave. Because it was so overwhelming. Like, imagine doing this, showing you these facts, and then having the fucking piece of shit app like TikTok telling you, yeah, that's misinformation. Imagine them saying that this is misinformation, but liars who never demonstrate shit, yeah, that's the truth. Right? I've posted all kinds of science stuff. Never once was I ever featured on the STEM portion of TikTok. Weird. Isn't that weird? I would post actual science stuff and they would just never feature it on the STEM section. Even though I talk about STEAM, I talk about STEM every damn day, damn near. Like, a major portion of what I do is literally promoting STEAM, the scientific method, science, technology, engineering, the arts, the mathematics. Yeah, I added the arts because you need the creativity. And that's one of the things about the arts that's so important too, before I get off here, because I'm about to get off. Because there's been all kinds of cuts to art programs and stuff like that. People don't understand the importance of art. It's not just the, pretty pictures and videos and paintings and shit. It's about expanding your mind, helping people to think in ways they don't normally think of. Thinking outside the box, being unorthodox, giving people the freedom to think differently than the norm. That's how we come up with solutions to stuff. Because sometimes things are subtle. Sometimes the nuance is difficult to peep. And so by having a different view, having the ability to think differently, you can come up with ideas that most people would have never thought of. We need to foster that. from the youth. We need to instill that in the youth. We need to nurture that for the youth. That's why I'm so big on protecting the youth. Because if you allow them to be in an unsafe environment from the jump, you're already inhibiting them. You're already starting them on the path of potential failure by failing them to begin with and absolutely refusing to acknowledge that that's what you're doing. That's why I do what I do. That's why I say what I say. That's why I am unapologetic. Look, I don't give a fuck. I don't care at all if I offend you. In fact, I'm happy if I offended you. I am absolutely ecstatic if I offended you. Because y'all don't seem to care about offending me. Right? Like, y'all don't care about offending me. Y'all don't care about saying all these things about me, making all these assumptions about me based on the things that I've said or the things that I believe or the title of my video without actually consuming the substance of the video. Like, y'all have no problem doing that. So why should I be so nice and warm and treat y'all with kids' gloves? A lot of y'all don't deserve this. A lot of y'all don't deserve how nice I was, because this was actually me being very, very nice to y'all. Because personally, I want to go crazy at y'all. I want to call y'all all kinds of R words. I want to point out your miserable, disgusting failure to protect your own kids, to protect the children of this nation that y'all claim like y'all care so much about, and your complete apathy. Your continued apathy to protect them going forward. When I'm pointing out how children are being harmed every day by your fucking weirdo leaders, and y'all just seem to be not only oblivious, but y'all don't even care. I bring it up, and it's just like, hey, we don't need to talk about that. Let's only talk about this abortion thing. And talk about how I'm such anti-abortion, and I'm so against abortion, and I love those kids that weren't born. But then once they're born, who gives a fuck? Who cares? A hard life is better than no life. But how about providing them with a good life? Where'd that part go? Isn't it funny that once we start talking about the good life, that all of a sudden they disappear, they don't want to talk no more? They don't want to say nothing about it. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird? They want to do everything but ensure that children have great lives. They don't want to ensure that children have food, clothing, shelter, love, care, education, great health. None of that. They don't care. If kids are brought into abused homes, or they're getting abused by their parents' friends, or if they're being trafficked, who cares? As long as they're born, right? As long as they're born, that's all that matters. Y'all are crazy. That is literally crazy. So, that's why I gotta fucking get the fuck up off of here. So stay smooth, y'all. Stop being bitch-ass simps for these narco psychos out here. And let's bring some sense to this crazy-ass world. Theism is wrong. Jesus is not real. Your prayers do not help anything. Knock it off. Alright? Holla back at your motherfucking boy, man. Hit the website. Hit that like. Hit that notification bell. Subscribe. All that. You know what I'm saying? Off the9.com, bitch.